does the fly fisherman do when the trout season is ended and the autumn salmon fishing is closed, on the Tweed, for instance? Well, Arthur Ransome has a suggestion. No doubt the proper place for tying flies is at the waterside, and the proper time just before fishing, when, having seen what fly is on the water, your perfect fisherman takes out his dubbing bag and ties one just like it. And if he hit to make his fly right, oh, no wonder. And if he hit to make his fly right, and have the luck to hit also where there is store of trouts, a dark day and a right wind, he will catch such store of them as will encourage him to grow more and more in love with the art of fly making. Isaac Walton. But perfection is hard to come by, and exact knowledge of flies and the assiduity of professional fly tyers has made it less urgently desirable than it used to be, at least in this matter. Your fisherman is not likely to find the trout feeding on a fly which has not already got its place in every tackle maker's catalogue, so he wastes no time in tying one himself, but takes one ready out of his box, with which, we may hope, he catches such store of trouts as may encourage him to buy more flies at the same shop. Though the proper time for fly tying may be the moment before fishing, the time when this art gives the greatest pleasure is out of the trout season altogether, when the fisherman knows that some months must pass before he may even try to catch a trout. Then fly tying is the next best thing to fishing, sort of licking of the lips that eases a thirsty man in the desert. You may renew the whippings on your rod. You may take your reels to pieces and oil them and put them together again. You may varnish the ring of your landing net, a thing often left undone till it's too late. You may strip your line and air it. You may do all these things, but nothing will bring you so near fishing as the looking through of the scraps of fur and feather that are meant for fish's mouths. And though it is decidedly good to go through your fly boxes, it is not so good as to make new flies. A lover cannot for more than a moment or two contemplate a lock of his mistress's hair, but he can happily spend a deal of time in carving a table for her. Inspection cannot be prolonged without uncomfortable idleness. There is a limit to the number of times you can rearrange a fly box without finding yourself out. But in winter, it gets dark early, and we must tie flies by artificial light. This may yield strange results if we do not pick out our silks and feathers beforehand, by day. Nor, since we can get no natural models, is winter the time to experiment with new dressings. We must make flies which we have already tried, and of patterns that we know can be trusted. We can do, for example, with a dozen of Greenwell's Glory, and this with its starling wing, dull-waxed yellow silk, gold thread, and cockybundy hackle, is a fly about which we are not likely to make mistakes, even by the light of a candle. Black spiders, too, there's always sense in filling up our stock of them, with red, black, orange, or orange and gold bodies, hackled with plain black cock's hackles, or better, the soft metallic blue-black hackles from the head and neck of a cock pheasant. A neighbour sent me the best feathered cock pheasant I've had for many years, and ever since, in spare moments after dark, I've been turning out the flies that I know I shall need during next season. Pheasant tail and hare's ear and spiders of all kinds. J.W. Dunn's series of dry flies can be made in artificial light by a man who has seen no models if he's bought the materials, which are all described and sold by letters and numbers. Oh. Appraisal rather than admiration. However. Yes. But the mathematical precision of such a recipe detracts from the pleasure of the cook. Something should be left to chance and taste. And for winter fly tying, I prefer the old simple dressings: ginger hackle, quill body, dun whisks. Yes. With such a recipe, a cook has a latitude wholly desirable. The other way, it's like counting the plums that are to be put into the pudding. The precision of 2 turns of this, 3 turns of that, catches at the mind just when it should be free for distant flights far from the circle of light in which, indoors in winter, after dark, the fingers are shaping wings, twisting hackles, spinning the down of a hare's ear on a thread of lightly, wetly varnished silk. As you tie a fly, you are already fishing it, and while your fingers are busy under the lamp, it is only the grand vizier of your mind who superintends them. You, the caliph, have moved in time and space. A summer stream laps about your knees. There is a noise of water in your ears. Flies are hatching and floating down before your eyes, and there, just where the ripple turns to smooth, you see the flash of a trout. Will he take in June the fly your fingers are still making in January? Of course he will. He does, and you strike. It is the trembling of your fingers that brings you back to winter lamplight. This will never do. That hackle must be unwound and preened and wound again. But long before it is fairly wound and made fast, the vizier is again alone, and you, the caliph, are once more far away, this time 6 months younger, and by another stream, catching, with a fly the very spit of this that is all but finished, the best trout you put in your basket last year. It's a waste of time to experiment in winter. Make, as well as you can, the flies you can trust, partly because they have a past, of which they give you the freedom while you tie them. Well, so much for the dry fly. Now for the wet. A natural disposition to distrust new flies, together with a natural diffidence, will lead you in summer, when the trout are rising, to try every fly you have in your box before risking the loss of a fish by offering some unorthodox, half-accidental mongrel tied by yourself. This, of course, applies particularly to flies for river fishing. Lake flies have a wider margin of permissible fantasy. But even for lake fishing, when I'm tying them by lamplight, I prefer to make flies of the patterns I know I shall need. Some of them may, what with the caliph's happy absences, be rough, but how poor a thing I sometimes find will captivate the greedy mind. And if you run out of standard patterns, butcher, for example, losing your last in a good fish, you're happy to find even a poor specimen in the corner of your box. Poor as it may be, it has its family prestige. Even if it caught no fish in the summer, it's caught plenty in the winter, while it's still in the vice. It already has the glamour of victory. You fish your home-tied fly with confidence, and therefore well. And if it's your tail fly, at least you may get a trout on the dropper.